Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mike Rosehart Show. I'm gonna plug in my mic here. Sorry, I'm dealing a bit of a cold. Let's try and pin this on. I just literally got in the door, was driving from Guelph, just south of Toronto there, and I just bought a new car. What did I buy? I bought a 2013 Mazda 5 six-seater with the captain chairs that recline and the sliding van doors, but it is a four-cylinder that can get almost 30 miles per gallon on the highway. So extremely fuel efficient, six-seater minivan, but it's more like a car. It drives sporty like a car. I'm a big fan of Mazda. Got brand new tires on it, new winter tires set up too, and so super excited. 55,000 kilometers. That's why I am late today. Sorry about that. Apologies. I know I try to get on time, 7 p.m. Eastern every single Wednesday. I try to jump on. I haven't missed one in a year and a half now, so that's some dedication there that I've never missed a stream. I've always made it on. Even if I'm a few minutes late, I find a way. I literally drove the new car into the driveway and ran in here and mic'd up. So when the regulars jump on, say hi. See about 6 or 7 people jumping in here. Today we're going to talk about a bit about frugality, but more about the idea, and I came across it in a post the other day, of this big movement of people who are picking up minimalism. They're picking up the tiny house movement. They're picking up all these like downsizing movements where you retire without the money you need. So it's kind of crazy that you can actually retire without the 4% rule type bankroll. You don't need all the money. Like there's this idea in the FIRE community that you need to save like at least 50% of your income for, call it 15 years. And you can just retire and live off that passive income. The math is extremely simple. I've done it in lots of videos before. But the idea is relatively simple. And it's that you don't need that money if you just consume less. Like you could imagine a situation where you might say, I'm okay living in a 500 square foot, 2-bedroom tiny house that costs me $1,500 a month to live in instead of living in a McMansion with all the stuff that I don't need for $3,000 a month. And if I do that, then I can quit my job that I hate, that soul-crushing job that's, I can't do for another 15 years. And instead, I can, just work, 6, 7, 8 hours a week, 10 hours a week, and that will make enough to sustain me, and I'll continue to save towards FIRE, but instead of getting to FIRE in, say, 5 years, I'm gonna do it over 15 years, but enjoy those 15 years. So then you have a choice, and it's like, you could have 5 years of like soul-crushing, hate your life, save 80% of everything, what I went through for the last 8 years, where like I literally worked all the time and saved everything and invested it. Now that paid off for me because I became a multi-millionaire, but for that 8-year period, my life was very tough, very hard. And so there's the other line of thought where like your life doesn't have to be negative. It can be very, very positive if you make the shift now. Quit the job you don't like now, make a change, downsize, live tiny, find a way to rent hack or house hack, find a duplex you have to live in, a bit of sacrifice to live for free so that you don't have to work. And that's sort of like a mental shift that you can make today. Like if you don't like your job, you don't have to work in that job anymore. You could quit tomorrow and pick up a part-time job that would sustain your living costs, and with the rest of your time, you could do things that you actually enjoy. And so there's this like gradient of FIRE, of financial independence, retiring early, that's centered around not having to just grind and then quit. Like the traditional path to early retirement is like you work extremely hard and life sucks and you build wealth, and then you hit that point, you just retire and you don't have to build any more wealth anymore. But that's broken. Like you don't have to do that. There's also the option of just like getting there a little bit slower incline, but enjoy your life. Like your happiness level is way higher. And it's almost like you retire now and maybe you still have to work part-time, but working part-time is better than the soul-crushing job you had before. And so it's like a huge upgrade. And yes, it takes you longer to get to FIRE, but what's the rush to FIRE if you're already enjoying your life? If you're living a purposeful, meaningful life you already want to live, like being free now might be more valuable than waiting another 5 years and crushing your soul to get to that point. Because what would you be doing anyway? Like maybe you could live and work part-time and live the life you want to live. Maybe that would still allow you to game or travel or do those things that you want to do. I'm talking about traveling more than 6 to 8 weeks a year. I'm talking about maybe you want to do like camping trips. Maybe I'm talking about you jumping on and deciding that you want to be a full-time gamer. You can still do that and work part-time. So it's sort of crazy. And by the way, if you're just jumping in the comments, I see all your comments popping up there. I'm going to read them all in a second here. And if you have any real estate related questions or personal finance related questions, jump them in there and I'd be happy to answer them. So today's stream is going to be a little bit shorter as well. I always say it's going to be shorter, and then it ends up being an hour and a half. So like today, you guys have to hold me to it. Someone on here, please be my like accountability buddy, and make sure that 45 minutes from now, or 45 minutes from when I started this stream, that I cut it off, because I got to go out. I promised some friends I go out for sushi, and I've been fasting since yesterday. So I have not eaten anything in almost 24 hours. And I've been doing that actually. If you follow my Instagram stories, I've been trying this intermittent fasting technique where I eat most of my calories within like a 5-hour window. And I've been getting great results. I haven't gone to the gym at all. Like I'm not doing any gym at all. I'm just literally trying to eat well and not eat. Like my first meal of the day is around 8 or 9 p.m. and my last meal of the day is around midnight. So in a 3-hour window, I eat all my calories. I go into ketosis. And I was actually like, I'm almost 27 in November, which is like crazy. I'm turning 27, but I'm still 26. I'm basically 27 though in like a month. And I started to get a little bit of belly fat because I've not been active like I used to. I stopped getting on the tools, like with my properties. I don't do any of the work anymore. So I just wasn't doing anything to like stimulate my body in any way beyond like holding my daughters. And like this is the results from intermittent fasting. Like I'm not doing any workouts at all right now. I'm just intermittent fasting. That's it. So try it out. Like I'm not into like pushing those health routines. Like people are vegan, doing all their own thing. Whatever, like you do you. If you like the taste of like sashimi, you want to enjoy sushi, like you do you. But I'm just saying my personal results have been fantastic. My hormone levels are better. My energy levels are better. I'm not even hungry. Like I'm starting to get hungry now because I haven't had my first meal yet. But I used to get hungry when I wake up in the morning. Now I wake up and I'm not hungry at all. I have like some water, I'm good. At lunchtime I used to get hungry, not at all. I don't get hangry, nothing, because my body is used to getting all those calories at the end of the day. And so that's been something that's, maybe we'll do a video documenting intermittent fasting because it's not getting enough attention and the process of ketosis and how that works in the human body. And once your body is acclimatized and used to this routine, your body's actually really, like my body doesn't need the energy. I'm good all day long. And that's amazing for productivity. Like, geez, I wish all my employees would intermittent fast. I literally believe you shouldn't eat until like after 7 p.m. That's when you should eat. And your body gets used to it or whatever, pick a window to eat in. You could eat in the morning if you wanted to, but imagine like I get up, I have tons of energy when I wake up and I can work for 9 hours straight, no breaks, no food. My body's used to it, it's going through ketosis. Then I load up, have my 2,000-3,000 calories, whatever I need in the evening. And then again, don't eat and I'm good. It's very healthy for the body. So I don't snack, I don't do any of that. And the results are speaking for themselves. Like you guys, I just showed you on camera, go rewind it if you want. I'm not even pumped right now. I didn't even do a workout right now. That's just like, I'm resting 6-pack all the time. Intermittent fasting. Sorry, maybe it's partly genetics, but like I've noticed going from like a 4-pack to a 6-pack just from intermittent fasting. And so do you do the supplement thing in the AM and then coffee with vitamins? No. So I was on a fish oil, vitamin D, vitamin C, like multivitamin in the evening, but I do nothing. I literally, like at midnight, I stop eating and I don't eat again until 8 p.m. the next day. So I'll wake up in the morning, I'll just have some water. Sometimes, like right now I've got a cold, you guys can probably hear it in my throat. My daughter brought home something from preschool and like just coughed in my face. Unfortunately, it's the sad life of having almost a 4-year-old at home. But unfortunately, I just had to suck it up and get sick. I've been doing one vitamin C tablet in the morning, and vitamin C has like 1 calorie or something. So technically I've been taking something in the morning. It's been just like keeping my immune system strong. But no, other than that, and there was just a little like, my mom's big into like the herbalism stuff, and so is my grandfather. So they brought me some, I take like 2 drips of this stuff under my tongue to make me feel better. But that's what I've been doing just this like past week because I've been sick. Other than that, like literally no calories. Caloric restriction has been the key to like keeping good health, and the process of ketosis is very healthy. I will be trying intermittent fasting while bulking. When I move into the new house in December, I'm going to be trying a technique where I use intermittent fasting to gain muscle and get bigger. So I want to put on 20 pounds of muscle. That's my goal. I got an at-home gym I'm going to build there. So we'll test out intermittent fasting with muscle gain as well. Right now I've been testing with weight loss and trying to keep lean. But definitely happy to hit all these questions up. And in this segment, I'll go back and circle back to talking about, what is that FIRE life? And I think financial independence, retiring early is different for every person. Like there are some people who are okay working 6 months, taking 6 months off. Shout out to Tom Forsyth if you're watching. Your strategy works really well. He works as a contractor for 6 months, then he takes 6 months off, travels to Brazil, all around the world. He's a virgin of fire, doesn't have the 4% rule, money set aside. He can't live on the passive income, but does have that freedom, right? Like doesn't work that hard for 6 months, works like a decent amount, lives on like 30 or 40% of what he's making, I believe, and then has the rest for the other 6 months and still puts some away for the future, still saving a little bit, 10 or 20% for the future, for like long-term fire. But while he's healthy, while he's young in his 20s, he wants to enjoy his life. And I don't blame him. Like I don't blame any of you guys who are, if you are in a job you hate, I was there years ago and it's soul crushing. If you can find a way to make a shift into entrepreneurship, whatever it is that you want to do, and you're like, I can reduce my lifestyle and I only need, say, $1,500 a month to live. If you get down to that like frugal level, you know what? You could work part-time and make that kind of money. Like most of us could quit our $80,000 a year jobs or $50,000 a year jobs and make $15,000 a year and still be able to live and then have a lot of free time to enjoy our lives. And so I'm saying you don't have to work 80 hours a week. You don't have to grind for 10 years. You can retire now, today, without financial independence, but still having some form of financial freedom. You get a little bit of an emergency fund built up and you got a plan for a part-time job. So that's something that I think that isn't being talked about enough in the FIRE community. Everyone's talking about like, hey, you haven't made it till you got the 4% rule. And like, as someone who's done that, who's been through that 8-year grind, it's hell. Like, yeah, I'm a multimillionaire today, blah, 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 2% rule. Who cares? Like, I had to suffer for 8 years for that. And am I any happier today with $3 million in net worth versus 600,000 net worth? 600,000 net worth would probably net me $40,000 a year pretty safely with the way I invest in real estate. And I mean, probably I'd make like 50 or 60,000 fairly safely, like super conservatively if you ran your numbers, ultra conservatively. I don't spend more than that. So yes, I make well into the 6 figures in passive income right now. I bring in way more in passive income than I need. Am I any happier? Like, did that extra 3 years of grinding I did to get to where I am now, does that have any tangible, real benefits? Like, not really. Probably I'd rather have those 3 years back in hindsight. So I worked too hard. I saved too much and I'm now too rich. And I can't get back those 3 years of my life. So something to think about. I think if you're on that FIRE journey, maybe you change and reflect your plan and say, maybe I'm gonna quit in 6 months. I'm gonna quit the job. I'm only halfway to FIRE. But that's okay, because on the grand scheme of things, I'll have instead of the next 7 years grinding at a job I hate, I'm gonna make a transition in 6 months or tomorrow, and now I can enjoy my life. And that's huge. Like that's majorly powerful in my opinion. You can change your life and you're in control. And it's okay if you have to work part-time, because what would you do with your time anyway? Trust me, when you quit your job and you go and you do whatever you thought you would do, you game or you sit on a beach, it gets boring fast. In like a month, 2 months, you're over it. And you want to go back to some sort of occupation or vocation. In fact, I'm going to do a video at some point about the 8 categories or dimensions of wellness. Like what makes a person happy and content. That's what this channel is supposed to be about. Like the financial independence movement, financial is just one of 8 dimensions that make a person happy. There's things like spiritual wellness, intellectual wellness, emotional wellness, environmental wellness, occupational wellness. So doing something that provides you meaning in your life. Physical wellness, of course, as well. You gotta balance all the categories. You can master financial right away. It's like the easiest one you can master once, set it and forget it. You can't do that with anything else. Like your physical body, if you just got like really fit in like a year of doing nothing, you'd lose it all. If you get really rich and you're rich forever, the passive income's forever. You get your spiritual wellness on track, you stop, focusing on that, you lose it. Emotional, intellectual, it all fades. But wealth grows. So I recommend of the 8 dimensions of a person's overall wellness, financial is the one you should master first and master, it's the easiest one, I think, to knock off. And then you got the rest of your time freed up because you mastered financial to then focus on the other 7 things that matter. And I'll do a video on that at some other point, but I just wanted to sidebar that because when you get into the space that I'm at where you don't have to work for money anymore, you have to ask yourself, like, what is the meaning of life? Like, what am I meant to be doing here? Everyone else has a job and like they're the accountant or like they're the mechanic or like whatever it is that they do, that's their identity. I don't have that. I guess I'm kind of like the real estate investor. I'm like the YouTuber. People will put that on me, but it's very, when you lose that occupation or that thing that defines you, you now have to find that for yourself. And so when you get to that point where like you're like, okay, so working for money doesn't matter, and that's what everyone does their whole life. They just trade time for money. You get to that point where you break that equation, you're like, okay, I don't need to trade any time for money. What do I do with all my time? That's when you get deep into the headspace of thinking like, what is the meaning of life? What makes someone happy? So I've done a lot of thinking about that for you guys, and I'll share in a video, the 8 dimensions. there's basically an equation. It's different for every person, but there is an equation that determines the happiness of a human. So some people don't value spiritual, wellness, or like social wellness is another of the 8 dimensions, like having a good social structure and network around you of like family and friends and things that you value. Those are all important pieces. For each person, it's different. Some person might value physical wellness as like a very low attribute. They might say it's 10% of their happiness equation. Another guy might say it's 20% of their happiness equation. So each person's like coefficient next to each of the 8 dimensions is different, but there is like the variable or the amount of weight you put towards that in the equation. I can give you the equation, and you got to build your own. You got to say, hey, this is this important to me, and that's going to change over your life too. Like right now, maybe social wellness is like 50% important to you, but once you get that all on lockdown, you got good friendships, good strong bonds socially, and you got a family, everything's settled up. Maybe now the social wellness isn't something you want to focus on anymore. Maybe now it's all about your emotional wellness and you're about your spiritual wellness, or maybe it's your occupational wellness. Like you need that thing that gives you meaning and purpose, like self-actualization in some ways. So anyway, I'll go into a whole video on that another time. But I do definitely think that the path to happiness isn't necessarily correlated to net worth beyond a certain point. Like up to a certain point, I think, you get more net worth, you get more passive income, it'll make you happier because you have more free time. But like, for instance, most people over $40,000 a year in passive income doesn't have a tangible effect. Like if you have $40,000 in passive income versus $50,000, not a huge difference. Is it worth 2 years of your life? That's up to you. It's up to the individual. For me, I went a little overboard. I went a little like, what if something happens? What if there's a recession? I was always just afraid. And so that fear mindset kept me working longer than I needed to. It kept me grinding and building longer than I needed to. But fintech, Cera. Cera, yeah, you guys know he's the actor from Arrested Development. I like him. He's a funny guy. Some people have said I look like him. I've also heard that I look like Jesse Eisenberg. I've heard before when my hair's short. I've heard, what's his name? Malcolm in the Middle. I used to get that a lot when I had a shaved head when I was a kid because I had the same kind of hair he did. So yeah, I've gotten that one before. Those are the 3 guys. You merge those together, that's the 3 most common. Oh, I've seen your face from somewhere before. Reference. But thanks for that. Appreciate that, FinTech. Okay, let's go up and hit some of these questions because I've been ignoring all your guys' questions while I just ranted about this change or shift in the movement. And I want to do a video specifically on it. I use these live shows as like my open free thinking space, and I throw it out there and you guys kind of jump back and say, yeah, that's crazy, or yeah, that's good, or let's do a video on that, and then we just do open Q&A because I'm here to help you guys and give you guys free coaching and advice. Okay, so you're an F-King genius. Thanks, Maps and Foreign Things, appreciate that. Cherry says, but does that sacrifice people's level of comfort and happiness? So yeah, there's definitely, I think that's what we're talking about today, is like, what do you value, right? Like, what makes you, I'm just gonna adjust this. There we go. So what makes you happy? Is it the materialistic comforts? Is it maybe like free time? For me, it's more about free time. Like I really enjoy having time to think, having time to spend with family and friends. If I only had 1 hour of free time per day and you're paying me $500,000 salary, that would be a terrible trade-off. Like I would rather make $100,000 or $50,000 in passive income, or like just make less, and be able to have like 6 or 8 hours a day in free time. So you have to try to balance that. If you're in a soul-crushing job that you don't enjoy, every day, and you're in that hard time, I'll tell you what, the free time is way more attractive, likely, than it might be to someone who's got a job working 4 or 5 hours a day chilling, right? That person who's watching this, you're probably not as interested in quitting your job because there's no fire, there's no motivation pushing you to leave that, right? And so it's up to each person. And then you have to decide, like, do you want to ball out every night with like champagne, or are you okay having like juice or like a simple cheap beer? You have to decide, are you okay with those things? And it's up to each person. I'm just saying, try it. And maybe you'll find that the sacrifice on comfort, or having those nice materialistic things like the latest and greatest iPhone and the newest and latest and greatest Xbox or whatever TV or newest phone, those things don't really make you happy. And the data shows they don't. And when you look at people and you talk to them and you dig deep, none of those things make people happy. They get a short-term blip of happiness and they return to baseline. So that's, I mean, the data shows that doesn't actually make you happy. And so I'm challenging people out there to make changes financially from a budgeting perspective so that they don't have to go to their job. Like, that option is there. You can retire. And I think just even knowing that, like sitting down and crunching the numbers and saying, hey, I could make a go of this in a 600 square foot house that's got 3 bedrooms, like, you know, modern floor plan in the suburbs, or like, you know, outside of town or something. I can make a go of this, and I can sell my 3,800 square foot McMansion. Or I could say, hey, I got this McMansion, I could duplex it and make a nanny suite and then rent out that suite and it would cover my mortgage. Now I wouldn't need to work. So you could just re-architect your current situation and turn it a little bit, and all of a sudden that small creativity change where you say, hey, I'm gonna be creative with my budget, all of a sudden allows you to not need to work anymore. And you can do it sooner than you think. You probably have more money than you think you do, and you can probably put that money to better work and retire sooner. A lot of people that I coach and talk to, they are able to retire, or they're close to retirement, and they just have mental barriers that are stopping them with just mindset issues. And I'm no different. Like, I have mindset issues too. And so that's part of that. Part of us is just having a discussion and talking about that. That's how you improve, right? That's how you come to a decision. So yeah, it's definitely a toughie. I think, you know, all of us have to kind of make those decisions. Off grid, yeah. So off grid, jumping around about the off grid. There are people doing the off grid thing. People doing the traveling with trailer thing, like where you travel around with a trailer or a motorhome. There's people doing the van life, that kind of thing too. There's people doing the tiny house movement. A ton of people jumping on the tiny house movement. I built a tiny house in 2016. It was a fun project. You can check it out. I did a video on it. Probably do another one at some point on my new house, just because it's fun. They're nice little office. It's like a little office space for me. I'll make it into my YouTube studio, so that'll be kind of cool. Yeah, so I'll keep in tune with that. I'll tell you about how that goes in about 6 months from now when I do the tiny house project. But there's other movements too, where like the minimalist movement, where people are just literally renting a small 2-bedroom house, and they're not going like tiny house. It's bigger than a tiny house, but it's just the space that they need, and they're paring down so that their house is like, they don't have any stuff. They go no spend for a year, and if you take one of those no spend challenges, you realize you don't need that much money. And so if you both are working couples making $40,000 each or more, all of a sudden you're like, hey, we're making all this money we don't need and jobs we hate. Why don't we make a shift and one of us quit, or we both go down to part-time at that job that we hate, and there you go. Like, now, because we made a small shift in our lifestyle, we don't have to work at soul-crushing jobs. And it's just like giving yourself permission to do that, and then even just running the numbers and saying, okay, this is possible, right? That's huge for most people. Most people just don't do that, right? Okay. Shipping container homes are popular now also. Andrew jumped in. 100%, that's true. People are jumping in with the shipping home containers, and you can do some really cool structures. I've seen people cut out. I've seen people do an infinity pool out of a shipping container. It was really cool. They cut out the side of the container and put like glass or like plastic in or something, and you could see inside the pool. It was really cool out of shipping containers. So the things people can do these days, it's wild if you get creative. Rent hacking plus house hacking for the win. 100%. Rent hack and house hack. That's how you get your expenses down. I've been house hacking since I was 19. I've been rent hacking since I was 18. So there you go. I've never paid for living costs ever. I've always subsidized my living since I was 19. I've never paid, like, my rent has been offset with roommates, or my mortgage has been offset almost always. Yeah, always. With someone living in my basement or rooms, or I always lived in duplexes or that kind of thing. Sorry, got a cold. Fighting through it for you guys. Live for the Mike Rosehart Show, even when I'm sick. I push through every single Wednesday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd rather be free than have a Lambo and a big house. What's the point if I'm working all the time? 100%. Future Wiz just like spouted out some wisdom that is like 10 years ahead of his time. The people that have like the Rolex and the fancy house and the fancy car, most of those people, most, not all, there's a bunch of them who live like great lifestyles, and that's cool. They've made so much money that it's okay to do that. But most of them, they work so hard that they can only drive their Lambo an hour a week, and they work to these huge houses that they can't spend any time in, and they can't enjoy because they're so busy working all the time. So you got to make that decision. Like, would you rather enjoy the time and maybe rent a Lambo like once every couple of months to get that huge blip of happiness, or does it actually make more sense to own it? And sometimes it doesn't make sense to own. The happiness meters show that if you spend the time and just like spend 1 hour a month enjoying that Lambo, renting it for like an hour on Turo. Turo is an app you can rent cars. It's like the Airbnb of cars, basically. Go on Turo and rent like a fancy exotic car and drive it for a day. And you'll have like a ton of happiness from that if you appreciate cars. And you do that for a few days, maybe you do that 1 day every month. That's cheaper than owning the car. It's cheaper than leasing the car. Just rent it. And you get the same amount of happiness psychologically. Because most of the time it's just sitting in the garage depreciating and you're not driving it. So yeah, there's something about that. Leasing is definitely financially better unless you can find a deal on a used supercar. Like I know some people have bought used supercars for like 50, 60 grand, sold them for 70 and made money. And in the year they were trying to flip it, they like used the car. Max is someone, Max Card, check him out. He flips cars. He's starting to get into higher end cars. And that's something that I've always like thought was really cool, was people who flipped cars. I've done the same thing. Like every car I've always owned is always broken even. So I'll drive a car, like the car I just bought a Mazda 5, 2013, 55,000 kilometers on it. It's mint, it's beautiful. And I just got new tires and everything for it. I'll probably sell it in 2 years when it's got 75,000 kilometers on it, which is like the equivalent of like 30-something thousand miles. I'll sell it while it's still fresh, while it's still a new car, but I bought it for such a deal that I'll probably sell it and end up making money down the road, right? Or at least breaking even. So my total cost of car ownership when depreciation is zero is very, very low, right? I have a fuel efficient car that doesn't depreciate. I sell it for what I buy it for. It's like a deposit I put down on my cars. And I just cycle through them before I watch the depreciation curves and I buy cars right when they're at like the biggest steep in depreciation. Before they hit the next step, I sell them. So while it's relatively flat in the depreciation curves, you can look that stuff up on your own and find out what cars depreciate when. The idea that you should buy a car and drive it forever is dumb. You hit too many depreciation curves. The idea that you should buy new because it's like headache free is also like a bad idea. You should buy a car that's like, in most cases it works out to be like a 3 or 4 year old car. It's still really good, in great condition. You probably won't have any maintenance issues. And yes, I did sell the Focus actually. And we sold it for a profit, slight profit. But so that was a win, like $50 profit. It was almost nothing, but I house hack, like you said, car hacking. Maybe I should do a video just on this, like the idea of car hacking. People just don't, like, I hack everything. All of my kids' stuff we got used on like Kijiji, like almost all of it. We got cloth diapers, for instance. We had the cloth diaper movement just to try it. And we bought like a whole set of cloth diapers for $200. Market value probably $500, $600. I didn't go out and buy new. I bought slightly gently used. And it's interesting because the gently used, how I got my car for $0. Yeah, I should do that. I will, not this Saturday, maybe next Saturday, maybe this Saturday, I'll do a video on it if I can get to it. So yeah, that's a good idea. Pro tip, how to get your car for $0. But I do this with all the things that I buy. So like, for instance, these cloth diapers. Most people go out new and spend $500 on cloth diapers. It's just like a random thing I just thought of, right? We went and got them for a couple $100, and now we can, my second daughter will grow out of them, and once she does, if we're not gonna have any more kids, then we'll sell those cloth diapers, probably for $250. Like I'll make $40. So my depreciation cost was $0. If I had bought them new, it would have cost me $500, would have had to sell them for $250, I would have lost $250. But I just put deposits on everything that I own, like my laptop that I use, my like hardcore, i7 Intel Core processor, 16 gigs of RAM, dual graphics cards, solid state drive. I bought it for $500 used. It was 2 years old. Bought it on Kijiji. It's worth right now $700. So my laptop over 3 years will cost me $0. So my laptop cost me nothing. It's a deposit. My TV, same thing, deposit. My car, deposit. Like I have no expenses because I sell the thing that I bought for more later. My shoes, even, I got my Steve Madden shoes, like my really good shoes. I bought them for, and the key is to sell them before they turn to $0. So if you were to buy the laptop and then grind it till it's dead, that's no good. Like my laptop's getting to a point where I should probably sell it in the next 6 or 8 months. Well, it still has lots of life in it. Well, it's still working great. That's the time to get rid of it and then buy something else. And so you're just transferring the deposit, right? People, they take their thing till it breaks. That's when it's worth nothing. The salvage value is very low. So you don't want to do that. You want to say, okay, my laptop's working great right now. I should go sell it. Like right now, I should just go sell my laptop. When I have some spare time, I should list my laptop, sell it for $600, make $100, roll the whole $600 into a new used laptop that'll have better specs and be like, a year or 2 old. And boom, my laptop cost, instead of saying, I'm gonna spend $1,000 on a laptop and in 4 years it'll be garbage and lose like 250 bucks a year, instead I just lose zero because I just keep buying when it's partially depreciated. I do that with everything that I buy. Like, you can't do it with food or consumables, obviously. I have some real expenses, but a lot of the major things I don't have expenses for. My houses, I've always traded up. Like everything, house, car, all of it, it's been, if it's not consumable, then I trade it up. And so that's been a pro tip that like I learned at an early age, was that like depreciation wasn't really a thing if you were smart about the buy and smart about the sell. And you just gotta kind of do your best to guess. And I don't get perfect on everything. Like my last iPhone, I made 50 bucks over 2 years. Yeah, my last iPhone was an iPhone 7. No, I bought an iPhone 8 and then I sold it 50 bucks more after using it for 6 months. Then I got a 7, iPhone 7, and then I sold it for exactly what I bought it for after grinding the battery for a year. I charge my phone twice a day. That's how much I'm on my phone. And social media and texting and calling all the time. I run my business on my phone. So anyway, I burn through phones like crazy, but I've never bought a new phone. I've always bought used phones and sold them for exactly what I bought them for. So just break even. There's no like gains for tax purposes, but I just depreciate zero. A lot of people are just not intelligent about it. They just go buy new and they justify it to themselves and then they sell it for half. So they just paid like 300 bucks over a course of a year or two for the cost of their phone. And so that's why their budgets are way higher than mine is, because I'm just thrifty about it. Same thing's true with like toys for my kids. They're all used toys. Like I have tricycles and fancy wagons. They're like $300 wagons and stuff that we got for like 50 bucks that I'll sell for 100. Like the cost is zero. Kids don't have to cost you any money if you're smart about it. They cost nothing. Like the incremental cost for more food, like to make a bigger batch of spaghetti is like 50 cents. And then I have like more for my kids. Like it's not even a big deal to make a bigger salad. I'm already making a salad, right? Like people make like kids sound like these really expensive things, and like beyond extracurricular activities, which don't start till like 5, there aren't a lot of expenses. And in Canada, you get Canada Child Benefit. The government gives you $600 a month, tax-free cash per child if your income's below like $50,000 a year or something. I think it's $35,000 a year. So it's, if you're FIRE, then you're getting this money from the government for free to pay for your kids' extracurriculars. And that's more probably, if you put it all away and invested it, it's more than what you're actually spending. So that's wild, but like kids don't cost you money. Fact. Your car doesn't have to cost you anything. Fact. Your house doesn't have to cost you anything. Housing can be zero. Fact. Like whatever. Or you could just buy some rental properties and offset your living expenses so they cost you zero. Anyway, I'm getting on a rant here. I gotta do these questions and answers because I'm starving. Still haven't had my first meal yet, and I'm looking forward to this sushi. Jeez, it's gonna be good. Someone commented, I can't believe the hate from CBC. Keep crushing it. Jordan, thanks. Appreciate that. If you're following me on Instagram or my Facebook, you know that CBC wrote an article on a property that I was sort of involved in. And it was a real shame situation. We're talking about cash for keys and things like that. But yeah, I mean, to comment on that, people don't like landlords, and people don't like, in general, like the bottom half of society, which is like the voting people, they don't like people who make money or are doing well. So the better you do in society, the more people are gonna attack you. So that's, no, I'm gonna shut up, I'm getting sushi. I'm getting sushi. So yeah, the more you do well in society, the more people are gonna wanna attack you. If you aren't doing well, no one has a reason to attack you, right? So my public profile, like the fact that I'm on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, it's cost me a couple of $1,000s. It got used against me at landlord-tenant board once. I got fined by the city for something before because I did a video on one of my properties that they went and used that against me, and they gave me an infraction. So social media has actually cost me a lot of money, but all of the lives that I've impacted by putting out everything out there for you guys, right? Like people, the reporters literally in that CBC article, they went on the radio and they took clips from the Mike Rosehart show. That was the commentary. Like that was what they used as their ammunition. So they used these things against me, right? I'm speaking freely and it gets used against me, right? But at the same time, think of the positive that's come out of this. I've got some great mentees that are part of my mentee program. I'm changing their lives. They're changing my life for the better as well. And I love the give and take there. I've got thousands of subscribers who've written me emails saying like, I've changed my personal finances because of this video or that video, or because of these streams, or people started buying real estate, or all my investors. Like I have a huge, we have like $18 million in real estate holdings, more than that. Like we're almost at $20 million in holdings. We'll be at probably 25 million by the end of, by next year, like in the next 6 months. So $25 million in real estate's been raised because of social media. So there's been a ton of positive but there is a ton of negative too, right? There are a lot of people who are snowflakes and socialists, and they jump on and like, you should not have. So how can we take from you? That's great that you're making a lot of rental profit, Mike. How can we give you a rental license fine? How can we find this infraction? How can we tear you down, right? So that's what it's, anyway. I've now separated myself. For the people who don't know, don't follow on Instagram at Mike Rosehart. I've now separated myself from the property management. I brought in a third-party company who can do it. Like, you guys already know the right way. I had a business partner who ran all the operations. Basically, his role is going to be outsourced now to a company. So I'm no longer, like, there's a layer between me and the tenants. Like, there's a company in between that takes all that, right? So there's no direct communication to me at all, which is going to be good as I get a bigger brand and as I grow. It just doesn't make sense for me to be directly interfacing with any tenants ever. So I no longer interface with tenants at all. None. There's a firewall there. I've hired management companies to do that. Same with construction. It's too much liability for me. I now have an independent company doing it. It doesn't make sense for me to do it. There's no profit in construction. You want to learn about running a construction company? Go watch Meet Kevin's video on, he did 3 videos on how he lost 300 grand, how you can't make a construction company profitable, how it costs $9 to change a light bulb because of overhead and things like that. Construction companies are hard to make profitable. So I'm just staying out of it. What I'm good at is raising capital and finding deals. Like, no one can find deals at 80 cents or 60 cents on the dollar like I can, or there are people who can, but they're rare and hard to come by. And so that skill is valuable, right? As a real estate agent, as a person who buys and sells privately as well as connected into the wholesale network, that's valuable. I do design plans for all my units of how to change the layout. I hand that over to a construction company. That's valuable. I just add $20,000 in value to change the layout of this place, and I know what's possible. Then I hand it over to the doers to get it done. Same with property management. I get the property stabilized, I hand it over. We have an Airbnb management company we're partnering with as well. And they're gonna be running all of our Airbnb operations. They're a different company from the property management. 3 companies we're partnering with. I hand over the plan, they execute, right? And they can execute better than I can. I can't run companies with 50 employees and do what I do. And moreover, I don't enjoy it. And it's just not high value. I don't enjoy it, so I'm not gonna do it. That's it. That's what it is. So I've made changes now, partly because of these articles like the CBC article. I want to distance myself from that. I like real estate, I'm interested in it. I don't want to be involved in the day-to-day. I want to do the high value items that bring $50,000 to $100,000 in value to the place. I want to be at the top kind of orchestrating, not even orchestrating, I don't even want to orchestrate. I want to sit back as a passive investor. I want to lean in with the deal, because that's the hardest thing to find, leaning with the money. Raising the capital and bringing the deal together, 2 hardest things to do. The management, I'm done with that. So in the triangle of like what is value, I'm gonna do 2 of the 3 pieces. And no one can ever do everything well. It's just not possible. So you gotta narrow down a bit and say, these are the things that I'm gonna focus on. These are the things I'm adding value in my life. So more questions. Let's blitz it so I can get some sushi. Love it. Question. Without JV money or seller financing, what is the lowest amount needed as a down payment right now to get into the London market for cash flow positive rental property? John Davis. Okay. John Davis, good question. It depends. There are single family detached houses in London for sale right now for like $160,000, $170,000. So if you did 20% down on that, you'd be expecting $35,000 in like down payment. So 35, 40 grand. I have a duplex for sale on MLS right now that an investor of mine is selling for $199,000. You could probably crack a deal for $190,000. Don't hold me to that. Anyone on here to play this clip back, but you can maybe crack a deal on it. It's a side-by-side legal duplex, 2-bedroom unit, separate parking, separate backyards, like a semi, but under 200 grand in London, which could rent for $1,000 a side safely, $1,000 a month per side. So there's $2,000 a month in rent, over 1% rule on MLS right now. So there's lots of opportunities for cash flow. That would be like an 8 or 9 cap property in London right now. When I get emails on a weekly basis from people saying, Mike, it's impossible to find a property under 6 cap. Mike, how do you find cash flow? I can't even find cash flow. I'm like, are you in the same city that I am? Like, are you just going on MLS and like niching on like the really overpriced areas? I don't know. People don't know how to look, I guess. It's a skill to know what to buy and how to buy it. That's why people partner with me, because I have the expertise, I guess. And I take it for granted, probably. Probably the years of experience that I have, I take for granted. I'll be honest. It seems like a no-brainer to me, but I guess some people don't have that expertise. Having done like 60 deals, they just don't know. So that's why I'm here, to help you guys know. So yeah, what is the lowest amount? That would be the lowest amount. If you you said without JV money, but if you were to JV with someone, then they could bring the capital and you could bring the mortgage or something, and you could put a deal together. I've seen vendor take back deals. My mentees, one of my mentees just got into a vendor take back deal where he put up zero of his own money. So he closed a $400,000 property for zero. So it's all private financing, 100% loan to value. Actually, yeah, 100% loan to value. So those deals exist. They're hard to come by, and they're even harder to manufacture because we actually put it under contract and then negotiated the vendor take back situation. It's a long story, but you've got to architect and maneuver those situations. They don't just, no one straight up is like, hey, I want to finance you 100% loan to value on this property, right? You got to finagle it. You might have to raise some private capital from different places and put that together, right? So that the seller, the vendor, will put up a vendor take back and you're going to put down 20 or 30%, but you've raised that from somewhere else and they don't know that, but you've raised it all, you put the money together. So then, yeah, anyway, that's for the mentorship program. That's for people who want to get like really deep into the coaching calls. I go deep about how to architect situations where you could be in a better position, but it is hard. If you have no money, it's hard to buy real estate. You've got to be extremely hardworking, extremely creative, and have a good mentor probably to architect deals without money. So my advice to you would be to learn how to save money and then save money. That's the best way. We have no positions in the mentee program, but you could apply to that if you're interested. Should you buy your first home with 5% down? No. No, 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 no. Unless you do the new program in Canada, with the CMHC program where they do equity splits and you're buying a cash flow king with no appreciation upside. They'll let you do 5% down for no upfront fee. Normally it's like a 4% fee. So normally if you bought a $400,000 house, CMHC would let you put 5% down and they would tack on your mortgage an additional $17,000 upfront fee that you pay interest on forever on your mortgage. And that money is gone. If you sell the property tomorrow, they keep your 5% basically. So 5% down deals are terrible. People do them because they don't understand or they're dumb or they just want to get into a deal. Don't do it. I know a lot of really good investors in my network who have done it. Guys who have 10 or 20 properties now who started with a 5% down deal, and it's a mistake. The math doesn't make sense unless it's actually cheaper to go get loan shark money. Like straight up, go get loan shark money at 15% for the difference between 20% down and 5% down. It'll be cheaper. Unless, like I said, unless you go with the new equity CMHC mortgage where they take, I think, 5 or 10% of the equity on sale and you buy a property that isn't going to appreciate. So you buy some rooming house for like 300 grand that cash flows like a beast and you plan to exit and sell it in 2 or 5 years for exactly what you bought it for. You're just gonna milk the cash flow. Then CMHC gets nothing. They get no fee. So that's huge. That's the only time I'd recommend the 5% down program. The upfront fee portion that they bake into the mortgage, ugh. The only argument I've heard that made sense was a while back they were offering extremely discounted rates for insured private mortgage insurance, like CMHC or Genworth, on the mortgage, and they're giving really good rate discounts. And I could see the argument over a 5 or 10 year period that the rate discount you got for an insured mortgage was so much greater of a discount that it compensated this, 4% of the purchase price fee. And even then it's like a break even. So I don't know. I always like to have exit strategies, and with 5% down, you're stuck buying and holding. You can't sell tomorrow because your equity's gone in fees. So you have no exit, and you can't refinance because you have to refinance 80% loan to value. So when you do 5% down, you can't refinance, and it's good luck selling. It's a long-term buy and hold. It can make sense. But for the most part, I say if you can find a way to not do it, don't do it. You love intermittent fasting? Me too. I love it. And it saves so much time. Yeah, like employees take 45-minute lunches, 15-minute breaks. Like if you don't smoke and you intermittent fast, you can work 10 hours straight like a beast. My favorite contractors back when we used to have employees, and like that was my focus, was the guys who didn't take lunches, who worked like savages. They got so much more done over a day than the guys who went out with smoke breaks and having lunch. And then after lunch, you got the sluggish slowness. You don't get that when you're intermittent fasting. Like during ketosis, you got lots of energy. Your body's depleting from the fat, right? It's just like your muscles are getting nice and lean and strong, and it's good for you. It actually is good for you. At first, it's gonna suck. Like when you start intermittent fasting, you are starving, and it's terrible. But once you've acclimatized, it's not so bad. You love fasting. That's awesome. I mostly do 18-6. Nothing wrong with that. 16-8, 18-6. Yeah, so I think what you mean is like you don't eat for 18 hours and then you eat for 6. Totally good. There was a myth in like the nutrition community that you're supposed to eat like small meals often. Like everyone's like, oh, eat every 2 hours, like small meals. Don't eat big meals. Like it's so bad to eat a big meal. That's actually not true, like at all. It just isn't true. It is true that you're not supposed to eat a ton before bed. That's not a good thing. Like I try to, if I sleep at 3 in the morning, I'll stop eating at like 11 or 12 ideally. So I have a 3-hour window where I don't eat before bed. But by and large, eating small meals often is terrible for your body. It's hard on your immune system. It's hard on your body in general to have food constantly going through the tract. You need periods where there's no food going through your intestinal tract. Anyway, go do the research for yourselves. Yeah, that's right. CBC, 100%. Okay, going down here. Media's coming after. Not anymore, because I've separated myself from it. I'm no longer a landlord. I am a property investor. Hi, Mike. For group lease, how many tenants sign the lease agreement? Do all the tenants sign? Are banks particular on how many tenants sign a lease agreement when considering income? So, Michelle, to answer your question, I always do group leases. I don't do by the bedroom. Don't do it. Do one group and tell them if someone leaves, they have to find the replacement roommate with your permission, like with your sign off. But it's on them to post the ad and find the roommate, which makes sense because they have to live with the person. You expect the rent in full from one person. You don't care how it gets together. They can pool their money themselves. But if you have like a 5-bedroom house, do you want 5 email transfers? Or do you want like 1 email transfer? And if you have 50 properties, do you want 50 properties times 10 bedrooms? So 500 email transfers? I know, because we had to deal with that. My inbox would be like, email transfers, thousands of them. And like they would put passwords on them and it was insane. Like just insane. Because we couldn't have it deposited into one account. So we couldn't have one email because you can only link one email to one bank account. We wanted it to go in different bank accounts. We had to choose which bank account from that manual password typing in. And anyway, the point is, the key piece is you need to set up one lease. The insurance company's gonna be thankful. The bank's gonna be thankful. No one wants a rooming house. Rooming house is more than 3 bedrooms, so like 4 and more. If you have more than 3, you're considered to have like a rooming house situation, which is commercial mortgage financing. Don't want that. Commercial insurance, you don't want that. So one lease, one payment, put everyone on that lease. Hopefully that answered your question sufficiently. Okay. I'm gonna do power round because I'm way behind here. There's so many questions. What's good, Mike? DW, good to see you on. Not too much. Just fighting a cold, but I'm pushing through for you guys. That's how you know you're making it, when you become super Donald Trump rich, become the Prime Minister of Canada. Don't forget about your Nick Wiz. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever become Prime Minister or President. I have no interest in that ever. At this current time, I'm definitely not interested in that. That sounds like a lot of stress, not a lot of money, and a lot of responsibility. So, nah. But I will not forget. The loyal subscribers, I do not forget. Do you do the supplement thing in the morning? I answered that question. Hey, so I just got a B-commerce and global management, but I want to get into real estate. What is the best career to start in real estate? I want to experience for real estate investing. So I'm looking at positions in asset management or real estate and as a real estate analyst. Yeah, I mean, I think anything in business will complement real estate. Like if you worked in insurance, you worked in real estate sales, you worked in asset management, you worked in banking or finance in any way, that'll be something you can leverage in finance. Accounting is a huge one because you do a lot of accounting work in real estate. So all those professions all tend to do very well, have a good knowledge transfer. But if you really want to get into real estate investing, go find a real estate investor and offer to work with them. Like my mentees, I cut them in now on like half of all my deals. I'm like, you guys manage it, you do the work, and I'll give you half the profit. A real estate investor like me doesn't want to run the show anymore. I'm okay to take half the profit and hand over operations, right? And so that's something that you might look and say, that's the fit. Like maybe, and it's up to each person, right? Everyone's got to decide for themselves. It's a personal decision, I think, at the end of the day. Okay. I do think all of those fields, though, will serve you well. Maybe if you like real estate, get into real estate sales or something like that. Or there are lots of things in the real estate field you could just directly get into and learn about real estate investing. Apparently, when you're fasting, your absorption rate in the AM is through the roof. So if you're deficient in anything, then it's a good time to supplement in the morning. Interesting. Did not know that. I'm going to supplement in the morning now. That would make sense because the body is like starving for whatever it can get. I'm like listening in from South Carolina. Hey, Kelly. I grew up super poor and now make $50 an hour. I would go as far as to say I'm more miserable now. I work all the damn time, hardly see my friends, barely go out. It sucks. Make a change. Make a change. You make good money. Could you not work 20 hours a week and at $50 an hour make $1,000 a week? $1,000 a week is a ton of money. It's hard to spend that even. And with 20 hours a week of work, you could enjoy your life. So how do you make the change to do that? Mikey says sushi. Thank you for being my accountability partner. Let's do a rapid fire. Like I'm gonna give you crappy little answers for all the rest of these questions and go super fast. Okay, thoughts on the spiritual? I answered that already. It's not too late. Started saving and investing. Buy your freedom, 100% true. Best career in real estate to start. I did that already. Tommy Kane, hey, how's it going? Good to see you on. Tis why I am here, my dude, learning and growing so I don't have to depend on my job and I can be financially free. Yes. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm going to help you move along that journey. A lot of the fire stuff isn't financial. It's the other squishy stuff. How's real estate going? How can you afford to move to Toronto? It's crazy out there with prices. I don't live in Toronto, FinTech. I do go to Toronto often. I was almost in Toronto today, but yeah, like Toronto, you just rent. Don't own, rent. It just makes more sense. And rent hack. So your rent cost can be zero. I did a video on that. It works in Toronto. I know people doing it in Toronto that live for zero in Toronto by subletting parts of their apartment that they live in. So find a big place in Toronto in the suburbs and then Airbnb or rent out the other rooms, or get a duplex situation going, not buy it, because buying makes no sense in Toronto. You want to rent in Toronto and then re-rent because you can get cheap rent prices. The rent to price ratio is bad in Toronto, so I wouldn't buy, I would rent. What's the best method for starting real estate investing with low income? Samuel, the best way is to, I think, like do wholesaling or get involved in some other part of the transaction, because as an investor with no money and no income, it's hard to really have an impact. You can invest in like a real estate investment trust, you do some private lending maybe, but with a little bit of money, it's hard to do private lending. So I would say buy into like a REIT or something like that. If you lost your money, we're in debt for 50K is what you mean when you said where, no job, and your entire list hates you and won't do business with you, what would be your next move? Tommy, that sounds terrible. I hope I never get into that situation. But if I was in that situation, start again, start fresh, put the skills I have to work and do what I do best, right? So like, for instance, for myself personally, that might mean, I don't know, getting into real estate sales. That might mean finding deals and wholesaling them to people, right? A good deal is a good deal. Whether they hate me or not, a $200,000 house worth $300,000 gets me a $20,000 profit every time. So I would just grind out the deals, find things, put it under contract and assign them. If I was in debt, I would cut my spending and I would go get a full-time job. And while I was on my lunch break and after work, I'd find the deals in real estate. Like I'd be grinding constantly. That would be how I would build my wealth up again, right? I would go and create a job for myself and I would work a job until I had enough money that I could then focus on that side thing like wholesaling full time. That's what I'd probably do. I don't know, I have to think about it. It's a tough one, I have to think through it. Mindset is super important, 100% agree. Do you have an agent license? Do you need one in global ENV? I do have a real estate license. I'm a realtor. I have a team that I work with as well that I outsource a lot of my stuff with. If you want to buy properties in the London area or sell a property in the London area, reach out because we have an awesome kick-ass team and I get to be involved in the process. It's fun. So I will plug that. Why not? Mike, interested in what you do to screen your prospective tenants. So I don't do a ton of screening anymore, but when I was placing tenants back in the day, a big thing was looking at bank account statements and credit card statements. That tells more about a person than anything else. It is hard to hide your credit card statements and your bank account statements. I can't request those. I can request those, I can't demand them. So good tenants offer them up freely. They say, yeah, go ahead. Look at what I'm spending. Someone's 90-day bank account, you can see where they're earning their money, where they're spending their money, go with their credit card statements, where are they spending. It tells you a lot about a person. Employment history is important as well. Credit score is pretty important too. Landlord references. I like to go and say, hey, can I go see where you currently live? Like, can I just pop by and sign the lease at your house? And most good tenants are like, yeah, no problem. You just see where they live now. That's a huge indicator of like how they're going to treat your unit is how they live now. So good tenants, you see their places. Yeah, so those have been the big things that I did for tenant screening when I never placed a bad tenant. So happy to help, William. Thank you for asking. And I did sell the Focus. Should we call this car hacking? Yes. Thank you for those. We'll definitely make a note. If Kyle's watching this, we should make a note to do that video. Want some more kids' toys? I got a whole room full of them. Eric, I tell you what, next time I'm in Sarnia, I should stop in and we should go through them and see if there's any toys that are a good fit, because my kids would love more toys probably. Emma is at the age now where she loves new toys, so I will take you up on that offer, Eric. Should show you how to find the depreciation curves, how to value it based on kilometers, etc. Yeah, I mean, I did my best to guess, but there's probably a better way to do that than how I currently do it. I was just guesstimating. And you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be within a range. Like if I lose $1,000 in this car over 3 years, oh darn, it cost me $300 a year to drive a really nice car. Darn. Some people don't even sell their phones, they just waste all that money. Yeah, like I don't keep phones. If you do, they go to zero. They depreciate eventually to nothing. So you sell your phone before it gets too out of whack. And then you do the same thing on the buy side. You don't buy new, you buy slightly used. One that has great battery life. You can test it. There's apps that'll tell you if the phone's been barely used. And I buy a gently used phone. Mike, you're 100% right. I'm a U.S. citizen. I plan on knocking out my girl and driving to Canada. My kids will be dual citizen, U.S. citizens with the rights and privileges. Birthright for the win. There you go. Give birth in Canada so your kids have a chance to escape. I think more so people hate the success built on other people. It's stupid. People hear you're making money on renting to other people and they think that you should take a dive in rent to help them out. But then think about that. Like, think that through for a server that makes $80,000 a year. Should they then... I'm hurrying, Emma. I'm hurrying. My daughter wants me to go. I'm just finishing up a live stream, my girl. I'll be out in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. It's got to be 2 minutes, my girl. I'm not going to get through all these questions. My daughter wants me to go. Yeah, the truth is, like, if you have a business and you sell products on Amazon or wherever, you're screwing people. You're taking their money. Rent is the same thing. If you have a grocery store and you sell food, you have a convenience store, you sell something to people. You sell friggin' whatever it is. Like, everyone makes their money by selling something to someone else. There's nothing different between doing that with rent or not. In fact, with rent, you get to provide people housing, which is fantastic. I don't know why people are like that. They think the landlords should work for free. Do they not think the server should work for $0 an hour and serve them food? The grocery store person, the car salesman, all that. I'm hurrying. It's been 20 minutes? Okay, I'm hurrying. At West LA? No one can afford in West LA. I'm just kidding. I could afford to buy in West LA, but I won't. Hiring a contractor, references. Find a referral from someone who you found working. Go to Home Depot or Rona and ask for references. 100%, 50 minutes, Mike. Your friends want sushi. Do you use Yelp to find contractors at a diet stream? No, just mentioning on this stream. Looking forward to bulking while fasting. Karan, awesome. Can't wait for you to join the mentee program. Really excited for it. Doesn't matter how much you eat or how much meals you eat, as long as you're caloric deficit, at the end of the day, you'll lose weight. That is partially true, but it is how and when you eat that food is also important as what you eat. 14-hour live stream, no one sleeps. Stay for the next 14 hours, more content. No. Bath time. Yeah, I gotta go. Bath time, tuck my daughter in, and then I'm gonna go for sushi once she's in bed. All right, bye everyone. Happy, I guess, Wednesday. Spend less, earn more, and maximize your returns. And if you're watching the replay, say hi, jump in the comments. And let me know if you're planning to fire sooner than the 4% rule. Let me know. See you in the comments. Bye.